It's 7:42 a.m. Your eyes haven't even fully opened, and your thumb is already moving. Before your feet touch the floor, you already know the weather, 3 group chats, and what your cousin had for breakfast. This is normal to you, completely unremarkable. But to almost every human who has ever lived, this would look like witchcraft. Let's do the math nobody asks for. Modern humans, your exact species, have existed for roughly 300,000 years. The World Wide Web went public on August 6th, 1991. A quiet, unannounced post on an early internet forum written by a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee. Now stretch that 300,000-year timeline across this entire screen. The part where humans have had the internet wouldn't even be a pixel. It would be a fraction of one. For 99.99% of the time our species has existed, nobody could check anything. Nobody could look anything up. If you didn't know something, you simply didn't know it. So how did people actually find things out? In, say, 1985, you had 2 real options: ask someone or go to a building specifically built to store the answer. That building had a wooden cabinet full of tiny drawers, thousands of index cards sorted by hand. Librarians called it the card catalogue. If the book existed but your library didn't have it, you filled out a request slip and waited. Days. Sometimes weeks. Encyclopedias were the closest thing to Google, except Google was 30 volumes thick, sat on a shelf, and was already a little out of date the moment it was printed. News worked the same way. You didn't get headlines as they happened, you got them once a day, on someone else's schedule. Miss the broadcast. You waited for tomorrow's paper, or you simply didn't know for days that anything had happened at all. Now imagine you wanted to talk to a friend who lived in another city. You wrote a letter by hand. Then you waited for someone to physically drive it across the country. The average letter took 3 to 7 days to arrive. If your friend replied immediately, a simple "How are you?" could take 2 weeks round trip. Urgent. You could send a telegram, but you paid by the word, so people learned to say everything in as few words as humanly possible. Phone calls weren't much easier. Most homes shared one landline. Long-distance calls were billed by the minute, so families talked fast, said, "Love you, gotta go," and hung up before the cost climbed. And if you weren't home when someone called, that was it. No voicemail, no missed call alert. You'd simply never know they tried. Here's the part that's hardest to imagine. There were entire stretches of the day with absolutely nothing demanding your attention. No notifications, no infinite scroll, no algorithm deciding what you should think about next. Just time. And your own mind, left alone with it. So people filled it differently. They stared out windows, they people-watched, they talked to strangers in line because there was nothing else to do. Boredom wasn't treated as a problem to be solved. Researchers who study attention now believe it was actually doing something important. It was the empty space where imagination and original ideas had room to show up. Teenagers built entire social lives around physical places. The mall, the arcade, the video rental store, because that was the only way to find out what was happening, or who was around. If you wanted to know whether your friends were free Saturday, you didn't text them. You showed up at their house. Sometimes you rode your bike there for nothing, and that was the whole point. Today, that 0.01% sliver of human history has completely rewritten how the other 99.99% used to work. We solved almost every problem boredom used to force us to sit with. It's worth asking what else got solved along with it. The average person now checks their phone around 58 times a day and spends nearly 7 hours a day looking at a screen, close to half their waking life. Decades of research on technology and connection, much of it from MIT, point to something striking. Many people today can no longer tell the difference between loneliness and solitude. We've lost the skill of being alone without feeling abandoned. The letter that took 2 weeks forced patience. The phone call that cost money forced meaning over small talk. The library trip that took an afternoon forced curiosity to be deliberate, not disposable. The letter that took 2 weeks forced patience. So tonight, when you go to bed and your thumb finds your phone in the dark out of pure habit, pause. Just for 1 second. Somewhere behind you, stretching back 300,000 years, is an unbroken line of humans who never once did that, who fell asleep in real darkness with nothing but their own thoughts, and were fine. The question isn't whether the internet made things better. It almost certainly did. The real question is what you do with 1 full hour of true boredom. If you even remember how.